Hi guys, and welcome back into my kitchen today just for another tutorial. Today we're going to look at one of the biggest things that we get asked all of the time, and that's about making bread. So at Nutricia we've got our low protein mix. Inside this is the mix. You also then get a sachet of yeast. If you're like me, and sometimes when you make things and you keep the yeast in a cupboard, one thing that you need to always do is check the date on the yeast before you start making bread. So if we just talk a little bit about yeast. Yeast is a living thing, so it needs water and it needs to be fed, which comes from sugar. Inside the yeast it's a 7-gram sachet. You can also buy yeast in the supermarket, but again, once this is open you take the lid off. You need to store this in the fridge, and you can keep this in the fridge for 4 months. So which one you use, make sure that it's a fresh yeast, check the date, and then you can start making your bread. So in the jug I've got the yeast, I've added some warm water, and I've added some sugar. Now the sugar feeds that yeast. So sugar can be used in lots of different ways. So you can use black treacle, you can use honey, you can use golden syrup, you can use golden caster sugar, you can use demerara, whatever you want to do. Change the sugar will change the recipe. So for example, if you want to make a thing like a barra beef or a fruited bread, you can use treacle, which will add some colour and it will also feed the yeast. Today I've just used normal granulated sugar in some warm water. You'll see it then start activating, which is then this foam that appears on there. When we say warm, what it needs to be is at blood temperature. If you can hold it and it's just warm to the touch, then the yeast will start working, it will start multiplying. If the water's too cold, the yeast won't work, and if it's too warm, you can kill it. So you've got to be quite regimented in the way that you do this. So the temperature is really important. It's quite a nice day today, so it's quite warm. If you're making bread in the winter, sometimes it takes longer to develop and longer to prove. So try and get the conditions right. So start with your yeast in there with the sugar. We've then got another ingredient which we add to any bread that we use with PKU, and that's the psyllium husk. Again, you can get this from Holland & Barrett, you can get it from Amazon, you can get it from Asian food shops. All it is a powdered fibre. So it looks like granular like this. And what this does is it gives the bread some structure. Because we know in this low protein mix, the protein has been taken away. So what we need is something to kind of put that protein back in there. So we use fibre instead. When the yeast starts developing, which is these bubbles, which is carbon dioxide, this then rises the bread. So the more that it proves, the bigger the rise that you'll get. So let's just talk about other ingredients. So we've got the low protein mix in the bowl, and I'm just going to add some oil in there. This just helps with the texture of the bread, and it also means that you can store it for a little bit longer because it's got some fat in there. Again, you can use butter if you want to rub some butter in there. You can use hard white fat, and you can do that as well. To flavour the bread, you need a good pinch of salt. I like the flake salt because I think it adds a different flavour to it. But if you've only got free flowing salt, just add a teaspoon. Give that a stir around. So this is the psyllium husk, because we've soaked it in water. So you can see it turns to this jelly-like substance, which is great. So it's going to add that body and extra fibre to the bread. So that's going to go in. We're also then going to add our yeast, which is been let stand for about half an hour. So you can see the bubbles come. If the bubbles aren't on there, don't use it. Start again with another sachet of yeast. Get all that in there because we want all of that yeast. So at this stage, this is just going to be a plain white bread, but you can change the flavours of this. So if you want a brown bread, you can add a Weetabix and crush that in so you kind of get a brown texture. If you want to do a fruited bread, you can add some dried fruit. You can add some freeze-dried fruit to this. You can add some sugar to sweeten it up. You can add some vanilla. You can zest in an orange or a lemon or a grapefruit or a lime, and that makes a really nice citrus bread. So once you get all the ingredients together, it's quite a sticky dough to begin with, and this is better because it'll just prove a little bit better. If it's too firm, you won't get enough rise on it. So once it's mixed, you don't have to knead it. You can see how easy it is just by doing it in a bowl, but if you want to bring out some big machinery to do it, you can do that, or with hand whisk, that's fine. At this stage now, what you need to do, you need to leave it in a warm place for about half an hour, anything up to an hour. The colder the room, the longer you're going to have to leave it. Cover it with a towel. You can drizzle a little bit more oil on the top just to stop it drying out. Cling film it, put it in a bag, or pop a tea towel on it. I'm going to leave it on the windowsill, but I've got one that we've let proof. So you can see that it's kind of doubled in size. And now I'm going to knock it back, which means we're taking out all of that air. And you can see that it's started to become slightly drier. It's still wet dough, and it's the consistency of play dough, and that's what you're looking for. We don't want to add too much flour because it'll just become dry. So let's talk about shaping the bread. So you can make lots of different things from this recipe. So over here I've got just a standard loaf of bread which is baked in a loaf tin. We've got some different rolls, a burger roll, a little batch, and we've got a finger roll there. You then go on to different types of bread from around the world. So this is a naan bread. So with a naan bread, all you do is press it out with your fingers, let it prove for about 20 minutes, and then to cook this one, I just put some coconut oil in a frying pan, add it to that, and then cook it both sides. It stays soft, it's lovely. You can freeze all of these really well. And then we've got an Italian flatbread or a pizza base. So again, you can just roll this out however you want to do it and however you want to use it. When it's at this stage, decide what bread you're going to do. It's better to make more bread and make some different varieties because it freezes really well. And if you're going to go through the trouble of making bread, you might as well make a lot of it and then pop it into the freezer. So this recipe will make a 2-pound loaf tin, or you can divide it and then make rolls, or do some pizza bases, or whatever else you want to do with it. It's really simple and it's really easy when you know how. When you treat the yeast the way it needs to be treated, bread's really simple and it's quite fun to do, and it's really good for the kids to get involved in as well, especially if you want to shape the bread and make it into some different shapes. They tend to eat more of it. Once you bake the bread, you can then wrap it and store it and keep it in the freezer. You'll keep this for about 3 months. If you're going to do a loaf, what I tend to do is slice it and then wrap it, and you can just take out slices whenever you need to. The rolls can just come out and they'll defrost really quickly, or if you want to warm them up, put them again back into a warm oven just to crisp up again. The naan bread you can use with curries, soups, stews, used for dunking and dipping, and then pizza bases, it's always a great one to have to hand. You can just take that straight out from frozen, put on whatever toppings you want to do, pop it into an oven, take it out, and you've got an instant pizza. So I hope that breaks down some of the myths against bread. If you need any of the bread recipes, they're all on my Low Protein Connect. You can also contact us on Twitter and on Facebook. So if you need any advice or any help making bread, leave the comment and I'll get back to you and I can answer the question. Until then, happy bread making. See you next time. Bye.